Thank you very much indeed, Leo. I haven't spoken at one of these events properly before, so thank you very much for coming. That word sustainable, has everybody heard of it? Because you know what? Every single discipline I've ever spoken to has a different definition of sustainability. Does this make sense? I went to a certain city council not very far from here, and I did a presentation to the council, and I said, what does a sustainable development look like to you? And they all sat there looking at each other like rabbits in headlights. Finally, the highways guy said, a concrete road. So when I finished bashing my head against a brick wall, I said, why? And he said, we can afford to sweep it for 20 years. So we have a problem. And at Greenblue Urban, what we are seeking to do is to actually enable cities to become sustainable, not just for now, but for future generations. And we define the word sustainability as continuing to enhance the quality of life into the future, but not crippling the current generation. That makes sense? And you know, this is a problem we have. And so what we find is we need to think about where we're going. What is the quality of life that we have right at the moment? Now this picture here is quite an interesting one. This is Northumberland Avenue in London that runs down from Trafalgar Square to the Thames. Those trees are fantastic trees. In the summer, this road is about 6 or 7 degrees cooler than Trafalgar Square because of the trees. But what we found out fascinatingly was that actually when the Victorians built this road in 1867, they actually provided for these trees to live for a minimum of 250 years. The pavements both sides of Northumberland Avenue are actually suspended on big iron girders. So that underneath both pavements, about half a mile long, you've just got uncompacted decent soil, forest floor soil. They were very careful about the choice of soil. So those trees in effect have a big soil vault. And that is why those trees are doing so well. Unfortunately, it doesn't always happen. We find issues like this. Now, this is a standard one. You probably come across developments like this. It's ironic. What did you say? It's Cherry Tree Walk, leading to Elm Grove and Elm Avenue. But where are they? Where's the cherry trees or the elms? And we see this so often. But you know why? Because it actually earns us money. We would prefer to buy a property that sounds in a nice road. Too often, what actually happens is those two most abused words in construction language. Anybody ever heard of value engineering? It's an oxymoron, for Pete's sake. It's like quick Brexit or military intelligence. Just words that just go quite together. And the problem is, when we're talking about green infrastructure, we actually say that value engineering is spelt cost deferral. We'll save some money today, but somebody will pick up the tab further down. But we've got to start giving green infrastructure parity with grey if we are going to end up with sustainable developments. This was another one that, similar time, this was actually a social housing road, and 15 years ago the council decided they wanted to plant this up. That had no trees in 15 years ago. By planting those trees carefully and properly, we have got a fantastic road. Which would you rather live in? Do you see what I mean? The actual value that we see is so important. So, as a company, our mission is to establish high quality green and blue infrastructure. And what we find is the best way of getting your green infrastructure paid for is to incorporate stormwater management with it. Because there's more money in stormwater management than there ever has been in landscape. So let's do the two together. We recommend multidisciplinary working. As Leo's just said, early on in the project, master planning stage, get your drainage guys in, get your landscape guys in, get your highways guys in, and work things out. Landscape cannot be an add-on at the end. Too often, the landscape architect is brought in to pretty the drawing up for planning. We can't do that. The best schemes are actually done around the table early on. And what we're finding is the use of trees as part of a SUDS train is incredibly efficient. It costs very little more than a standard tree planting and less than end-of-pipe drainage solutions. And what we're finding is we're getting better schemes, healthier schemes. This is just one up in Keighley that they did 2 years ago. They actually planted trees that take all the water runoff. And those trees are probably 3 times the size they were 2 years ago. The trees are dealing with all of the runoff off that road. If Keighley can do it, I'm sure other towns can. There we go, and just see the tree pit. Like that, just below the curb, the water's running down through that soil, dealing with our nasties, dealing with the pollutants and feeding the tree. This is another one that we've just done. Anybody know Sauchiehall Street in Glasgow? It's a great street, but most people don't admit going there. What the council has done is they've actually they've regenerated it by planting trees all the way down, giving us a separation between cyclists, pedestrians and the road traffic. This has been so effective. It's totally regenerated that end. Another one, not quite such a location, but Selfridges planted trees to encourage spending. Very difficult site, 33 utilities in the tree pits, but we've got a really decent scheme there. St George's Square in Huddersfield, imagine what that looks like without trees. We must get canopy cover into our cities. We must understand that what we need to do is we need to work together. We help people, we'll help you get the right tree in the right space, in the right place. So we'd like to help you too. We like to put stuff together, helping you do it, all free of charge service. Please give them room to grow. Too often we see trees in these concrete coffins and they don't have a chance. Would you like to be planted there yourself? Thank you very much indeed for your time. Thank you. We'd like to help.
Thank you, Howard.